Hi guys, this is Joseph from Jouleconcepts and I am excited to be here with a new tutorial this week. Sometimes back I was checking up some tutorial online and I came across MoGraph Plus, where he created different fabric textures using Corona, Render and Shader, and I thought to myself, if it was possible for me to create the same texture in Cinema 4D using the native Cinema 4D texture or material. So I kind of got this and I actually created this using Cinema 4D texture material, and in this tutorial this is what we're going to be looking at: how to create this cutting material using strictly Cinema 4D texturing procedural method. And in this description I'm going to drop down link to the tutorial I watched from MoGraph Plus. I want to give credit to him because I got this information from him and I thought I should create something out of it. So first off, I'm not taking any credit, I'm giving the whole credit to MoGraph Plus for bringing up this. And I'm also going to put in the link description for you to download the project file from there. I would also put my own project file, so anyone you want, but I would advise you go into his link and download this project file, because there you have textures that we're going to be using. I'm not going to drop the texture in my own description. You have to go through him and get that texture. It is free, absolutely free. So let us get into the tutorial and see how we can go about this. Okay, so what I really have here is just I have my fabric object, and I have the backdrop. Then I have three lights set up. This is my rim light, my key light, and also my fill light. You can have them here. So you're going to have this project file. And then the other thing I also have is that you have the texture on the sky, and that is just pretty much everything I have here. So I'm going to go back into the camera and try and see what we have. So if I'm to render this, I'm going to see what I have. I have this realistic texture of cloth material, just like a wood cloth material, actually fabric. So how can you make this if you don't have a third-party renderer, you don't have a Corona renderer? So that is what this is about. Just like MoGraph Plus tutorial use Corona renderer to achieve this, I thought of trying to make this. So we're going to look at how to do that using the native Cinema 4D material and all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new material, delete this material, and also delete it from here. Then I will drag this material up here. So that is the first thing I'm going to do. So the next thing is to go into the material. Then I would get rid of my reflectance. In my color channel, I want to change the model from Labertian to Oranaya. Now the Oranaya is better used for concrete and cloth fabric texturing and all that. So that is what I use anytime I'm trying to create concrete and fabric material. So once I'm done with that, the next thing is to work with this texture. So we're going to be layering up some texture, some bitmap images and all that. So the bitmap image I got from MoGraph Plus tutorial for the Corona renderer. So I'm going to drop the link to his channel, so you can go and download the project file from his tutorial and all that. So for me to do that, I'm going to bring up this fabric texture, drag it and drop here. I don't want to. So now once you have that set, you're going to notice that the fabric resolution is very low, and that can be done by going to the editor and change the texture preview size to no scale, and that brings it up here. And the first thing you're going to notice is that the texture is so large. So what you're going to do is go into the texture here and start changing the styling value. So basically how it works is the higher the value, the lower the texture material, as in the smaller it gets. So if I increase this to 2 and 2, you notice that it gets smaller. But I have tested this based on the scale of my scene, and I've got that scale of 4 on the U and V work fine for me. So that is what I have here. So once I'm done with this, the next thing is to start texturing this and layering all these things up. So if I go into the color channel, I'm going to click on this arrow, go to layer. As soon as I layer that, it's going to put it inside a layer. Now if I'm to do a render region somewhere here, you are going to have a normal texture. I think I should just do render to picture viewer so you can see the difference. So I'm going to scale this down due to tutorial purpose. Divide this by 2, so I have my render settings, just the lowest render settings. So, and I have ambient occlusion, no GI, no global illumination. So once I render this, I'm going to have this render come up here. So while this is coming up, I'm going to talk about some things here. If you notice this render, it just looks so flat, and nothing really is interesting with this. You don't get to have interaction of the light with it, and the actual fabric material is such that when light hits the object, the edge of the object kind of is brightened more than the face. I don't know how to put it. The edge of the object is brightened more than the surface facing you. So I'm trying to create the outline on this edge, making it brighter than the usual. Everything is too uniform, and for me to do that, I'm going to make use of my fresnel shader. So if I come to this shader, I go to fresnel. So where is it? Okay, so I have fresnel here. Then what I'm going to do to the fresnel is I'm going to go into the fresnel, just check this physical. Once you check the physical, I would want to change this to 1.25, just to get that fresnel effect on the edge. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this object, this texture bitmap, and have a lighter version of it. So the lighter version of it is what I'm going to have around the edge here. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to, now for me to duplicate this material, if I hold down Control and click on the name, it will not duplicate because that is not where I can duplicate. For me to do that, I'll have to hold down Control and drag it from this image. Once I drag from this image and I click, I have a duplicate of it. So the duplicate, I'm going to take it to the top of the layer such that you have the main texture here, the one you're going to brighten it, then the fresnel on in the middle of both of them. So for me to do that here now, there is an effect I'm going to add, but before I can do that, I have to layer up this. So once I right click on this, I go to layer, it puts this inside the layer. The reason why I'm doing this is if I undo this, the effect I'm going to add is here, brightness. If I add the brightness and increase this to 10, for instance, it affects everything, and that is not what I want. I want it to affect only this top layer. So I'm going to undo that. Then that's why I'm layering this object. Once I layer this, I can go into the layer, then add the effect. Then I can brighten this, maybe 15. So this is bright. Then I can go back. So I now have the brightened one and the dark one. So for me to bring this effect to life, I have to go to the fresnel, change the blending mode from normal to layer mask. So you can see the effect I get. I have, wherever I have the white part, I have the top layer, and this is under. So if I'm to do another test render here, you are going to see what we're going to get. Okay, so you can already see the effect we have. The first one, everything just looks flat. You don't have interaction of the light around the edge. But the next one, you can see that they have the effect of light around the edge. Everywhere have this. So that is the purpose of that. So we're still coming up, and this becomes a little bit better than the first render. So the next thing we're going to do now is to try and create some noise around it. And for us to create the noise around it, what we're going to do is to layer up these three texture. We're going to layer it up and create another one of this. And so it's like we're going to have double of each of these, then put each of them in folder. And I hope that, so for me to do that, you already know how to copy a layer. So hold down Control, drag, hold down Control, drag, hold down Control and drag. So don't forget, this fresnel has to be layer maxed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder so that I can arrange each of those things inside the folder. So I have this, I have this is the first folder. Then I'm going to create another folder. So the folder is added inside. I'm going to bring it out. So this second folder should be here. And put this one here. And that's how you layer up all this. So what I am trying to do is to create another hierarchy such that the top level is going to be bright while the other one is going to be the normal layer. So what I'm going to come here, select this layer, add an effect, then that will only affect this. Hope you understand. So it only affects everything in this. So I'm going to brighten this to, let's say, 20 or 15 for instance. I don't want it to be too bright. And now I want to break these two together. Now I'm going to use noise to break them so that I don't get the I get a kind of breaking of all that. So for me to do that, I'm going to make use of this noise BW8. So what I'm going to do is just drag this noise here. Once I drag it here, I do the same thing, put it in between, layer mask this. So I have this effect. Now this is too intense, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this such that you don't really get that effect too much. So let's see 45, or let's try 50 first, and if that doesn't work we will go back and change that. So now we are going to have this. So let's hold on, I'm going to fast forward this and have that. So you can see I feel this is too intense, and when you're doing such thing you want to be as subtle as possible. So what I'm going to do is go back, change this to, let's say, 35 if it's not too, still not too much. So let's say 30 for instance. I just want to have a feel of breaking of that material but not too intense. So let's have 30. And once I have that, I'm going to do another render. But before I do another render, what I'm going to do is I need to add this same texture to my bump and my normal, so I have a realistic information of it. So I'm going to bring this up, take the same fabric to my bump, then it's going to ask for if I want to, I'll say no, then I'm going to copy this. So I can change this to 10 for instance and see, so that it doesn't, the effect is not too much. So under my normal, I'm going to go to texture effect, normalizer, then go into the normalizer, add the same bump there, paste it there. So I want to change this also to the same value I have for my bump. So I have that. So let's see. I think that is all for that. And once I am done with this render, I'm going to change it up and set my depth of field and see what we get later. Have that, so let's start. Let's see the process. You can see what we have before. You have this, you have that, and we reduce that and have this effect. So what I'm going to do now is to scale up this, because obviously we are getting very low effect times 2. You have this. I could even change it to HD, so we have this HD. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my depth of field. So if I come here, I want my focus to be somewhere here. Then as I go back, it fades back. So I'll go into this camera. This is the value, so I'm going to change this to, let's say, 3. Then I may want to get rid of this just to test what I have here. So I'll check this depth of field, and also what I'm going to do is just quickly do a test render. So I'm going to reduce this divided by 4, so it's very small. Then I just want to see the effect of the depth of field before I do a final render. Okay, I think I can still add more depth. So let's say 0.8. So I think that should work fine. Then I can increase this back times 4 and 300. Then for this I can change this to adaptive, automatic, change this to like 10. There is no subsurface. Blurriness should be 4, and here I'm going to get rid of default lighting, and no volumetric, no refraction, no reflection, no transparency, and then possibly mature. And I'm trying to do my final render, so activate that. So I'm going to render this out and come back once the render is done, and I will get back to you. Alright guys, so I'm here, and what I actually did another render afterwards. So this was the one I rendered, and after that I thought I should do some other things and come back here. So it's not something new. I'm going to show you what I did. That's how I got it. This first thing is, if you notice, the depth of field is too much, the blurriness, so I reduced that from the 0.8 to 0.95. That's the first thing I did. The second thing was to go into the material. Then this is what I had before. This wasn't here. This is what I had before for this render that you can see here. So what I did now is to bring in another texture which is part of the project file. This texture which is part of the project file from MoGraph Plus. So I brought it and I use it as a layer mask for these two textures that we had. Then I reduced the opacity to 25%. So what I did was, if you notice, I changed, instead of us having this normal color, I just wanted to look for a way to colorize this and give it a different color. So what I did was to come here, change the, add an effect, go to effects, add hue, saturation, lightness. Is HSL, that's what it means, hue, saturation, and lightness. So just change the value. So changing this value would give you a particular color. You can see if I change this, it changes the hue of that object, then also sets the saturation, how saturated do you want it to be, or how less saturated you want it to be. So that's just what I did here for. So you can use this to change the color of this object. So I think I had 29 here and 25 here. So that's how I got this color and this new texture. So I hope this was intuitive, this was helpful, and if you have learned something new and you actually like this, I would like you to please give me a like, thumbs up, share the video, and if you are not a subscriber or you are new to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a new video you will get notification of my tutorials. And do have a wonderful day and God bless you. Bye.